Saints are not going to be able to be here today. This is going to be the primetime video. One of them is on business and one of them is on vacation. So again, I mean, that's absolutely acceptable. And so I'm going to be doing the video, and hopefully they'll be chiming in on the chat. So that'll be cool. Boy, that looks very, very white lighty, doesn't it? Let's see if I can adjust it. Maybe we can get some of that light out of there. On my phone, it doesn't look nowhere near as bad as on the computer. So, again, that kind of crappy. But I'm going to wait till some people get in here. And I'm going to talk about the primetime games this week. Hopefully Square Pair jumps in here with me and at least put some comments out and stuff. That's what we're looking for from them this week. They are on business and on vacation. So again, they're going to not be in the video. Hopefully they will be in the chat. But if they're not, they are going to give me their plays. So we're going to talk about week 6 a little bit, the Buffalo debacle. Some other things that happened in week 6, definitely changing the landscape of the NFL for week 7 for sure. And a few probably other things. Definitely need to let some people get in here, some people that are interested, obviously, and see what happens. I got a lot of stuff to kind of talk about, being that I'm the only one going to be doing the talking. I actually have some stuff that one of the subscribers, longtime subscriber, a good friend of mine, and also a purchaser of the picks, he kind of let me know that he needed, that's my youngest son, you guys know that, so he's just being wild, he's a wild kid. But one of the things he told me is that people need to understand how and why I make picks the way I make them, and I haven't done a good job of explaining that, even in the write-ups and stuff. And he's absolutely right. So I'm going to try to do some of that here. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go over that now. So I've went over like some parts of it before, and I'll give the reason why I never did it before and why I never went over it before, is because I'm putting out what I bet on, I'm putting out my computer model workup, and I'm putting out my breakdowns, and I'm giving you guys, this is for the guys that purchased, and I'm giving you guys all the information I use, right? Now, obviously I have his history information that I don't put in there, and things that I, like different angles I use, but it's not because I don't want you guys to have it, it's just I don't ever think about putting it in there. And so, again, you can directly text me and stuff. I put my number on every one of the breakdowns. So it's not like you can't get a hold of me. You absolutely can. So first thing first is let's go into week 6. So big game in week 6, Chargers-Ravens. Turned out to be a very, very one-sided game. Ravens dominated. Those were two of my favorite picks of the week. Was the Chargers to cover the spread. They were getting points. The computer model ranked them as the better team, and the over in that game, and the Chargers basically failed on both sides. The Ravens scored 30-something points, and the Chargers only scored, I think, 9. And it was just a mess. It was bad handicap, in my opinion. Obviously, John Harbaugh was ready for the Chargers. They confused Herbert a lot, a whole bunch. They confused Herbert on basically every play. Thank you, Mr. Bryan. And they just did a really good job against the Chargers overall. And I mean, it was in Baltimore, but that doesn't matter all that much. And it was an early game. Sometimes that matters for the West Coast teams. It's like playing at like 8 in the morning, So, but again, Chargers are a good football team. They just didn't show up. And Herbert got confused. Harbaugh did a lot of scheme stuff and disguised defenses, and it confused Herbert. And it makes sense. He's only played like 21 games, so it's not like he's a seasoned veteran out there. He's still just a little different than a rookie. And but anyway, so they got dominated. Bad handicap, and I did put that out as some of my favorite plays, and they didn't make it. But overall, the computer model this week went 57% again. So if you bet all the games by the model, you would have won roughly 10%, which is a pretty good profit per week. You can't get that really anywhere else. 10% gain every week. I want to talk about this Buffalo game because I want to talk about specifically Josh Allen, because Tennessee did what they were supposed to do. They ran Derrick Henry. He had a big game. One of the receivers had a big game. Julio Jones had that retarded helmet catch where it bounced off the guy's helmet. But other than that, he didn't do much. A.J. Brown had a big game. Two things with Buffalo. I want to talk about their defensive line not getting any pressure on Tannehill. Didn't barely touch him, I don't think. And the other thing is Josh Allen. Okay, so I get that the last play of the game, there's a lot of country. They could have kicked field goal. I think they chose the right thing. I just think they chose the wrong play. I would have preferred to roll Josh Allen out to the right, give him a pass option, a run option, things like that. They only had to go a half yard. But that's not even what I think lost the game for the Bills. What I think lost the game for the Bills was in the first quarter, they drove down the field twice with no problems, got inside the 10 and kicked 2 field goals. Didn't get a touchdown there, not out of 2 drives. And Tennessee's not a stellar defense. They are not. One of the footballs hit Diggs in the hands. His hard catches down toward the ground. And one of the touchdown got called back on a holding. It was a running play to the tight end, and it got in the end zone, and it was a holding penalty, brought it back. Now, with that said, you're the Buffalo Bills. At the time, you're the best team in the NFL. You're not undefeated, but you're still essentially the best team in the NFL. And basically, you kind of gave up everything in the game, right? You weren't able to convert inside the red zone into touchdowns. You kicked field goals. And you have Josh Allen that couldn't get a half a yard. He's 6'4", 240. He tries to dive under the pile. I mean, just a lot of things in the game were bad decisions by Josh Allen. Mostly Josh Allen. All right? And I get that the defense kind of got torched, but Tennessee had their full complement of players on offense, and it showed. There was 2 number 1 receivers, that legit number 1s, and probably the best running back in the NFL. And they got ran on and they got thrown on. I mean, guys, Buffalo wasn't going to keep up their defensive dominance forever. It just wasn't. It's not real. So, again, even with all that said, Buffalo should have won the game. But the drive I think that mattered the most was right before the drive that went to the 1. Okay, so they had a 3 and out with like 7 minutes left. Buffalo was up by 4. They have a 3 and out. All right, it goes sack, 60-yard pass, 60-yard pass. All right, in both passes, Tennessee rushed 4 guys, no pressure on Allen, and dropped everybody back 50, 60 yards. Josh Allen could have walked for the first down on both plays. There was nobody for 25 or 30 yards. And he loaded up deep balls. Neither of them completed. One of them was short. It probably should have been a touchdown for Emmanuel Sanders, but it fell short. But the thing that bothered me the most is you're up by 4. You're winning. There's 7 minutes left. And everybody drops back. You're Josh Allen. Run the ball. It just, like, it didn't make sense to me. It was almost like Josh Allen was trying to prove something when he should have. It just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, I know they didn't call those plays. They weren't trying to go for deep balls up by 4 with 7 minutes left. There's no way. That's no way. I'm not saying there wasn't deep routes in the plays, but that's not what the play calls were. It just doesn't make any sense. So, in my opinion, Josh Allen lost the football game for the Bills. He lost it on the first drives of the game. He lost it on the 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, and he lost it on the 1 yard line. I mean, he literally lost that game 3 times for the Bills. And yes, Derrick Henry is an absolute beast. So, but just with that said, it was just a very odd showing for a guy that threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. To not be able to get a half a yard when it mattered most, to not run the ball when the whole team ran away from you 25 yards. It just, a lot of the decision making there was very regressed back to the old Josh Allen. And I don't know why, because they were winning at the 7-minute mark. It didn't make sense at all. And I'm a little frustrated with that because it cost me a bunch of money. And I know it cost a bunch of the different subscribers a bunch of money. So again, okay, so but the holding penalty on the kickoff, I mean, you can't expect a kickoff return to go the distance. I mean, that's very unusual. It's very unlikely. So again, I mean, you just can't expect that. And the holding penalty was absolutely terrible, but on it, the guy he wasn't going to get to the guy or nothing. But still, it was a hold. But even then, they drove right down the field. It wasn't like they got all the way down to the 1. I mean, well, 1.5. And it just didn't make sense. A lot of the plays in the fourth quarter for the Bills, in my opinion, just didn't make sense. So, I think that's the separation, right? So you got the best quarterbacks in the league, and Josh Allen's trying to be that. And he has all the tools physically. But the separation is the thinking, the in the game process, knowing situations, understanding what you need in certain situations. And I don't think he's quite there yet. So, the best quarterbacks in the league are there, right? They do the right things in those situations. Hi, buddy. Some little babies right here. But anyway, so that's kind of, I think he's not quite there yet. And I love the Bills. I think they're still the most complete team in the NFL when healthy. If maybe Arizona is too, but just overall, I think they're the most complete team. Offense, defense, everything's there when they're healthy. Maybe they need a possession receiver because they don't really have a big guy. Hey, what's up, BDC? I agree. I think the rollout play was a better play. I totally agree with you, BDC. I think it made more sense to give him a run-pass option on a rollout to the right because that's his game. But anyway, so with all that said, them are done. That one cost me a lot of money on teasers. And I think it did other people too. And I think it did people around the country that bet the Bills. I mean, the Bills in anyone's graded out much higher than the Titans. And it was kind of a bad beat. I don't like to use that a lot, bad beat, because it's the NFL. Anyone can win. But that was kind of a bad beat. But anyways, let's get into, there was a bunch of other good games in the week for sure. The Dallas-New England game turned out to be a great game, right? And it probably shouldn't have. I mean, Dallas is a significantly better team than New England, I think. But it seemed to me like they had a good plan for offense with Mac Jones. They did. I mean, I think they had a plan to attack Dallas's defense pretty well, and that kind of worked out. And Dallas had to do everything to beat them. They finally did and covered, but still, it was a great football game. And a couple other ones. Minnesota, Carolina was pretty good. Carolina dropped 183 passes in the game, which was terrible. But again, there was good games and one really bad beat. The Pittsburgh game was tricky, right? So Pittsburgh jumps out to this 14-point lead, looks super dominant, like I thought they would. And Seattle did the best thing they could have done. They took the ball out of Geno Smith's hands, and they just gave it to the running back. And Alex Collins had this great game. But when they put the ball back in Geno Smith's hands, he sure enough lost the game for him. And so that's kind of the way I handicapped the game. I figured the ball would be in Geno Smith's hands, and he would lose the game for him. Yeah, I was in the same boat, VDC. Just like the Bills just seemed like just the gimme, and you got them on Monday night. I mean, So you could load up on stuff like that, teasers and money line parlays, and just rely on the Bills, the best team in the AFC for sure. At the time, it's like, yeah, it felt really good. And honestly, they should have won the game. And they figured out a way to lose it. So I don't think Tennessee's better than the Bills, guys. If you look at the stat line, outside of Derrick Henry's stat line, the Bills dominated them. They had 3 receivers that were like 80-something yards. I mean, Josh Allen threw for 350. I mean, it just besides the 70-yard run, they really kind of held Derrick Henry in check besides one other big run. I mean, they did a good job on him besides the one big run. And I mean, the ones down by the goal line, that's Derrick Henry time. He's going to get those. But the one huge run kind of changed the game a little bit. But still, even with that, they had the lead in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go. It just didn't make sense. The play calling was, if that was the play calls, I just have my doubts. I think Josh Allen did that on his own, and he made mistakes. Because I just doubt the play call was to throw 60-yard passes with 7 minutes to go in the lead. It just doesn't make sense. But anyways, so let's get into these Thursday night games. It's Denver. I have them at +4 because that's where I saw them. I think they're down to 3.5 now, or 3 even, against Cleveland. And guys, so the reason this spread is falling with Denver on the road, and it's people are betting Denver, is because Cleveland's offense is literally not there. So both running backs, Hunt and Chubb, are out. They're already ruled out. And yeah, they wanted no part of the Henry. That's right. And Mayfield's hurt. He may or may not play. He probably will play because he's kind of a gamer, but he is hurt. Something wrong with his shoulder. And Odell's hurt, and he may or may not play, but he's hurt. So they basically have the 2 tight ends, which are good. They have 2 good tight ends, and they have Landry, and then they have a rookie running back, and they have a 3rd receiver, and I can't remember his name right now. But anyways, it's just not a good situation for Cleveland, and that's why that spread's moving. If you don't have the 2 of the top running backs in the NFL, which is what Hunt and Chubb are, I mean, you could easily give them both top 5 rankings. You don't have them. That's a huge part of what they do. Like, they're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, if not the best, as a group. And they're not going to be there, and they're going to rely on a rookie against what should be a good Denver defense. Now it's beat up. The linebackers are all hurt. The defensive line is still pretty good, and the secondary should be good, but it really hasn't been. If you just look at the names, you'd think they were really good, but this year they actually haven't been that good. But with Mayfield, most of his weapons down, it just doesn't seem like a good spot to be taking Cleveland. If his weapons were there, I think this spread would be 7.5, but they're not. He doesn't have either running back, and he probably isn't going to have Odell, and he may not have him. It may be Case Keenum, which is a weird angle because Case Keenum used to be a Bronco quarterback, right? So if it's not Mayfield, if he decides not to play, then it's Case Keenum. If it's Case Keenum, Denver wins this game easily. If it's Mayfield, Mayfield has some magic in him. We've seen him do some good stuff in his career, and he could come out with a win. He could do it. But the play here is Denver plus the points. It's the only thing that makes sense with all those offensive players hurt. Don't get me wrong. Even with that, even Denver with the points is still, it's going to come down to the end of the game because Denver can't score. Their offense is not good. And Cleveland's defense is reasonably good. So the defense definitely could do a lot for Cleveland. But with all those offensive players here, and we're not talking about just average people. These are top-notch offensive players. It's just a bad spot for Cleveland to be laying points, and you should get it when it's at 3.5. Don't wait till it goes down to 3 or 2.5. It's a pretty good teaser play just because you're going to get up to that 9.5 spot and get through the 7. It's actually a much better teaser play than it is just ATS. And but either way, it's the right play to play Denver here. And I'm a Denver fan, and I'm not saying it because of that. I'm just saying it because Cleveland players are all hurt. I mean, it's kind of what happened to the Giants, right? The Giants, all their offensive weapons are all hurt. And it's kind of the same thing in Cleveland right now. Problem with Denver is Denver just does not score. And that's the problem is they scored 24 points, right, against the Raiders, but it was like 31-10 in the fourth quarter, and they just got garbage touchdowns, so it looked better than it was. And it just, I mean, they didn't score against Pittsburgh. They didn't score against Baltimore. I mean, I get that at the end of the Pittsburgh game, they made it look close, but Pittsburgh was playing back, and they had to make fourth downs. I mean, guys, I'm a Denver fan. Their offense is awful. They should be starting Drew Lock. Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer. He just doesn't score enough points. Drew Lock, yeah, he may turn the ball over more, but he's also going to drive the ball down the field more. And so, but we'll see if that happens. It's probably not happening this week. At least I haven't heard anything about it. The crazy thing about this game is they both grade out in my computer model as an 8. And that would be with all the players. So it's a good spot to be betting Denver in those points. They probably shouldn't be getting points with all those players out. This should probably be closer to a pick 'em right now. And it may get there. It may go all the way down that far. It may move that far, guys. But so get it now, especially if you're going to tease it. Get it when it's at 3.5, because you don't want it to go to 2.5. I mean, I know you're still getting through the 7, but 3.5 is better, quite a bit better, because you get through the 9. And games do end there at 9, 28-20, and stuff like that. They do end in those spots. And Cleveland could still win this football game just with their defense. So the over and under is really low at 42. So they're expecting a pretty low scoring game, and they're probably right. So those points when you tease are even worth more at that point when you look at the over under at 42.5. So, you know, you're teasing up to 9. That's a big chunk of 42.5. Again, so the right play is the teaser on this one. Getting 3.5 or 4 is not a bad play. Betting Cleveland and laying points here is a bad play in my opinion, just because their weapons are all decimated. But you know, again, so that's where I'm at. I like Denver plus the points. I like Denver on the teaser much better. And the over and under, I'm not going to mess with it. If I was going to play it at 42.5, I would actually take the under and expect a low-scoring game. But I don't like it. I think it's where it's supposed to be. So let's move to the Sunday game. Okay, so Sunday's Indy plus 3.5 going to San Francisco. San Francisco's coming off a bye. The over and under is 45.5, right? So here's the crazy thing about this, okay? Is San Francisco is literally still in a quarterback competition. They were in one at the spring, they were in one in the summer, and they're still in one. Because I think they want to go with Trey Lance, but the right play is probably Jimmy Garoppolo because Trey Lance isn't ready. But Trey Lance offers more. He's mobile, he's big, he doesn't get hurt as much. But Jimmy G's a better quarterback. You know, if you look at Jimmy G's record, he's actually very good. And his completion percentage, so he's a very effective quarterback. So honestly, I have no idea which quarterback they're going to play in this one. It looks like they're leaning Trey Lance, but it could be Jimmy G on game day. So at least it's Sunday night, so you're going to get some heads up. But as far as I can tell, being on Tuesday night like this, I can't, you know, there's not a lot that's indicating one way or the other at this point, and it probably will be a Saturday or Sunday call. They're probably both taking first team reps. I mean, and you can look all this stuff up, guys. If you care about this game a lot, you can go look this up and see what San Francisco's doing and see which way they're leaning. There's going to be information on it. You just go online, you'll find it. But in my opinion, the Indianapolis Colts actually grade higher on my model, and I actually think they're the better football team. Going on the road after San Francisco's on a bye, obviously San Francisco will be a little more healthy. But I think the Indianapolis Colts are the best 2-win team in the NFL. They took Baltimore to the limit. They took the Rams to the limit. I mean, they lost a tough game to Tennessee where they kind of got dominated. But I mean, it just overall, they're a very solid football team. They're a very solid defense. And Carson Wentz is playing well. By all standards, Carson Wentz is playing good football. And their young receivers and those great running backs they have, it's actually a really good offense and a really good combination there they got going. The issue they have is their secondary is all beat up. So they were like down to like practice squad guys in the Baltimore game. And they actually have a good secondary normally with like Rocky Scene and stuff like that. So when those guys start coming back, that defense is going to get whole again, and they're going to be tough. They may give Tennessee a run for that division later in the year, but right now they're relying on the offense, and it's coming through. I mean, they could have easily won that Baltimore game. They could have easily won the Rams game. And those are two of the top teams in the NFL. So I actually like Indy to go get this done in San Francisco and get the win. And really, no matter which quarterback is there. And I like the 3.5 they're getting. I do think this is going to come down to a very close game. Yeah, I think the Colts are a little better than the 49ers. Just overall, I think either way, quarterback, whichever quarterback's on the field, I think Wentz is still the best quarterback that'll be in the game. Especially this year's playing well. He has a lot more weapons, much better offensive line. He's not having to do everything like he did in Philadelphia. I think he's more comfortable. He can run the football. I mean, it's a much better situation for him, and it's with the coach that he likes. A lot of people don't know that the coach of the Colts for the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl, he was a coordinator there, and he was Wentz's big buddy and all that kind of stuff. So that's why he's in at the Colts, and so that's why they have a good relationship, and he kind of knows how to call plays for Wentz. That's shows his best skills, and so I like the Colts here, guys. I like the Colts on the money line. I think they're going to win the football game. I think it's going to be close, but definitely getting 3.5 or 4. I really like the Colts and getting 9 or 9.5 or 10 on a teaser. I think they're even better. And so I really like the Colts side here. It's one of my favorite plays of the week. The Colts side. It's a Sunday night game, so they're all going to get up for it, And but I think the 49ers having a QB issue is just bad in the middle of a season. Like, I get that Garoppolo was hurt for a while and stuff, but Trey Lance hasn't been overly good. He hasn't been bad, really, but he hasn't been good. So I don't really think it matters which QB plays. They do play different football with which one's in, but I think the Colts are just better as a team overall. They're more consistent. Obviously, their offense is getting healthy. The defense needs to get a little more healthy, but, I mean, they're a solid football team. Best 2-win team in the league, and I think it's not close. So they're probably better than a lot of the 3-win teams. So I'm on the Colts. So like it or follow or fade. They're getting points. It is on the road to a team that's coming off a bye. So I just want to give you guys all the information there. But San Francisco's still in a quarterback competition, which is weird. So it's a weird thing. But anyways, okay, so next game. Monday night, New Orleans making the long trip up to the 12th man in Seattle to face Geno Smith and not Russell Wilson. New Orleans' defense is comparable to to Pittsburgh's. Maybe not as good of a pass rush, but overall probably better than the overall combination of the defense is probably better than Pittsburgh. But the pass rush is definitely not. Obviously got TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, so you got the best pass rusher in the league probably right now. But anyways, New Orleans is giving up 3.5 on the road in Seattle, which is unusual. And I get Russell Wilson isn't there, and it's Geno Smith, and that's why they're giving up points. Now, New Orleans is coming off a bye, so they're healthy, and they've been having 2 weeks to prepare for Seattle and a beat-up Seattle team. And I know it's crazy, but I like New Orleans here. I like New Orleans because Seattle cannot stop the run. And I think Kamara's going to have a huge day. And I think that New Orleans saw that Pittsburgh game, and I don't think they're going to make the same mistakes. And offensively, I think New Orleans is a better offense than Pittsburgh, because I don't think Pittsburgh's an overly good offense. New Orleans has one of the best running backs in the league, dual threat running backs. Jameis Winston isn't making as many mistakes this year. He's not throwing for a ton of yards, but he's not throwing interceptions. And the defense is solid. I mean, the one problem with the New Orleans defense is that they're not great against the pass, but when you have Geno Smith throwing the ball and not Russell Wilson, I'll take my chances, because honestly, in my opinion, the only reason the Pittsburgh game got close against Seattle was because they took the ball out of Geno Smith's hands. and they just basically made him hand it off every play. And that's the only reason I think it got close, because Pittsburgh was dominating it when Geno Smith was dropping back and making bad throws. And then you saw at the end of the game when they put it back in his hands, he lost the game for him. So, oh, it went all the way up to 5 already? Dang. Yeah, see, when I looked at it, and I actually bet it at 3.5 too, yeah, it just, at 5, man, that 5 is ugly. But again, some of this stuff you have to get down on early, or you have to wait right till the end of right when it's getting ready to play, because it'll get bet the other way. And so, like, if you missed the 3.5, the 5 isn't good, guys. I mean, the 5, I know it seems crazy that a 1.5 matters that much, but it does. Let me explain why, okay? Because 3.5, a lot of NFL football games end on a 4-point difference, right? 24-20, 14-10, 27-23, 28-20, 28-24. There's a lot of these, 21-17. There's a lot of these spots that it ends 4 points difference. And this game could be there, right? It could totally be there. Now, the crazy part about it is that at 5, you've missed out on this, right? You've missed out on them 4-point games. And you guys can go look at this. Go look back and just go back, 15, 16 weeks, a whole year basically, and see how many games ended up as a 4-point difference. It's going to be way more than you think. All right? It's because it's a football number. You got 3, 4, 7, 6. Those are all football numbers, right? They land there. Games land in those spots. And so the 5 is ugly. Now, you can obviously tease that 5 down to just New Orleans winning, which isn't a terrible play. It's not the best play ever, but it's not a terrible play if you've missed out on the 3.5. So you can tease them down and get, a spot where New Orleans just has to win. Now, I don't think there's a play on Seattle here that makes sense. So if you are looking Seattle, like, in my opinion, if you're going to bet Seattle, just bet the money line. Don't worry about the points. Just bet the money line, because you're going to get a better payout if you just think Seattle's going to get this done. So for whatever reason, if you like Seattle in this spot, and I mean, they are going home, which helps Seattle a lot usually. But for whatever reason, just bet the money line. Get the value, get the bigger payout, because if Seattle wins the game, it's going to be at the end. They're not going to dominate New Orleans. New Orleans is too good of a football team for that. So it's going to be some kind of last drive, Geno Smith pulls something out of his butt type of thing. Pick 6 or something crazy like that. Fumble 6, kickoff returns. In my opinion, that's the only way Seattle really wins this football game, if there's even a chance they do. But at 5, I don't like it. So if you guys, if you're going to bet it at 5, I would tease it, or I would just play the New Orleans money line. I know it's not going to be a good money line, but it's better than giving up 5 points. And again, they just covered basically a 5-point spread in Pittsburgh, right? They went to Pittsburgh and covered a spread like that. So it's not unlikely that they cover one at home at 5. It's crazy that 3.5 matters that much to 5, but it does, guys. I promise it does. I guarantee you that the difference between winning by 4 and winning by 6 is very different. So, again, so my 3 picks are: I like Denver in the points. I like Denver on teasers even better. I like Indy in the points, and obviously I like Indy on teasers even better. And I like New Orleans, not at 5. If it's at 5, I like New Orleans money line or teased down. So for a 3-pick teaser on the primetime games, because we always give one of these out. I usually let Lumpy and Jake give them out, but since they're not in here today, I'll give it out. So I like Denver, Indy, and New Orleans teased, 6-point teaser. Tease them, Denver, Indy, New Orleans. The only one that I really think is in question is the Denver game. And it sounds crazy, right? You tease them up to 9.5, you're much safer. So what does that say? National Fixed League. Why would you say it's fixed? I don't understand that. So here's the one thing I always say to people that think the NFL's fixed. So the NFL doesn't have guaranteed contracts. So players get paid bonus money up front, big chunks of it, and then but their contract itself is not guaranteed. So at any time, they have to perform to usually reach these levels of this contract. All right, so the good players, their contracts are even more performance based. So your players like Aaron Rodgers, your players like Patrick Mahomes, all those guys, they have to perform to get money. Why do you think the game last night was rigged? I mean, because they didn't get a 4th and 1? What about the 2 drives in the first half that they weren't able to get in the end zone? Or what about the 2 60-yard throws with 7 minutes left when they're winning? I mean, I don't understand why you would think it was rigged. It was bad play by a quarterback. And here's even the bigger thing, okay? Here's the bigger thing. Who rigs it? Like, who's it for? He slipped. Okay, so players slip. I mean, that's not unusual. The game wasn't won or lost on that 1-yard play. It wasn't won or lost on that 1-yard play. It was won or lost in that first quarter when they didn't score touchdowns. It was won or lost when they let Derrick Henry run 71 yards or whatever it was. But so, vital sign. Enlighten me. Who gains from the rigging? That's what I want to know. I want to know who gains from the rigging. Explain that to me. Okay, I like it, BDC. BDC says he likes the -5 too. He said he's not scared. BDC's good, guys. Believe in BDC. He has skills. He's the real deal. All right, see you, buddy. Have a good dinner, bud. Appreciate you stopping by, man. That's awesome. So back to Mr. Vital Sign or Mrs. Vital Sign, whichever you are. Who's it rigged for? Because it's not Vegas rigging it. It's not the sports books rigging it, because that's not how they make money. They don't make money on a side. So who is it? Who's it rigged for? That's what I want to know. If you can enlighten me on who it's rigged for, then that's I may entertain it. But it's not rigged for the sports books, because that's not how sports books make money. So they don't gamble. They're not gambling. Sports books get even money on both sides. That's why they move the spread, and that's how they make money. So let me see this comment. Okay, but I don't think you understand how sports betting makes money. So the way sports betting makes money is sports books. That's why there's a VIG. So they charge you a VIG -110, right? So the winner wins $100. The loser loses $110. So they get even money on both sides of the bet, and they take 10%. And that's how they do it. They don't care who wins or loses. They just want to put even money on both sides of the bet. That's why they move the spread. And that's exactly how they make money. They honestly don't care who wins or loses. And so it doesn't matter to them. They're not rigging anything. Why would they need to? Because sports bettors are going to bet both sides of the bet. When it moves, the spread moves. That's how sports gambling works. It does not work like you think. It's not like they don't worry about a bet that's lopsided, because the week before it was lopsided the other way. So they're playing the long game. All they have to do is overall get $5 billion on one side and $5 billion on the other, and they take 10%. That's how it works. And that's how it's always worked. Oh, they are. So everyone. So these players that have worked to get to this point their whole life, and are championship players. They want those titles. I mean, and the refs. So the refs are in on it too, right? And the coaches, like, so all these people are in on it. So all these people are in on it. So all of them are getting paid off. I mean, you're talking about thousands of people. They're all getting paid off. I mean, come on, man. It's what it boils down to is that the defensive players. That was my son beating on me with a little chipmunk thing. Hi, buddy. So all sports are rigged. All of them. Okay. I mean, I'm going to say this as nice as I can. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand how it works. And you don't understand what Vegas is about. You don't understand what the gambling industry is about. Why would the gambling industry risk getting caught cheating when they don't have to? When the money's already there. It's rolling in. Why would they risk getting caught rigging things? It doesn't make sense. What your argument doesn't make sense. I mean, I honestly don't. I see what you're trying to do there, Alex, but I mean, you can probably find those things if you look at enough numbers and enough. I mean, it's like when people bet trends that have 12 different requirements to them. I mean, you can make any trend say anything. You can find that in probably 25 games a year. I mean, I don't, guys, look, these players, they're getting paid to play the sport they've played their whole life. They finally made it to the top of the game. They want to win, and that's the truth. I mean, to say that it's rigged would have to go so deep, and so many people would have to be paid off. That why would gambling industry risk that? There's no reason. There's plenty of gamblers that lose all the time. Why would they ever have to risk that? That's what I'm saying. The argument doesn't make sense. The argument that it's rigged, it just doesn't hold water. It doesn't stand on its own. So the only time that rigging ever really happens, okay, so it happened in the NBA a couple years ago, right? And it was a group of referees doing it. One of them went down for it, but it was a whole group, all right? They were rigging games on their own to bet on them on their own. It didn't have anything to do with the NBA. Didn't have anything to do with the players. It didn't have anything to do with the owners. This group of referees did this all by themselves in order to bet all by themselves. It didn't have anything to do with Vegas. Didn't have anything to do with the mob or anything like that, what people think. These referees literally did this by themselves. And in the NBA, so basketball is the easiest game to rig, right? Because you can blow the whistle basically at any time you want and call whatever you want and change the game. The NFL is a little tougher. Obviously, you can call holding penalties or pass interference penalties, but teams can still make mistakes and teams can still affect the game in a way you eventually can't rig it, even as a referee. And they all get graded. They all see those referees are also another thing I don't think you understand is referees are getting graded every game, and the ones with the best grade get a referee the Super Bowl. This is a big deal. So, I mean, it just doesn't hold water. The argument that it's rigged, it just doesn't hold water. I mean, you can say it, sure. And you can point to games that end funny or calls, bad football calls or whatever. You can point to all that stuff. But what about the hundreds of other games? What does that have anything to do with LeBron getting 6 rings? LeBron could get 6 rings because he's one of the best players ever. I mean, he's had lots of chances to already have 6 rings. He went to like 7 or 8 finals in a row. I mean, he could have 12 rings if it worked out for him. I mean, so they were all rigged against him then. So just because he was in a movie that Michael Jordan was in and 6 rings, because Michael Jordan has 6 rings. I mean, Michael Jordan could have had 8 rings if he would have stayed in the game, if he would have wanted. I mean, the NBA was soft when Michael Jordan played in it, when he got all his championships. There was basically like 4 teams that were any good. So, I mean, all that stuff, those guys want to win, right? Let's see this comment. I wish Jake was here. Okay, I mean, so? What does that have to do with anything? I mean, that correlation is even made shows that people really just have way too much time in their hands. The reason LeBron was able to come back in Game 7 was because the Warriors were hurt. That was why. If the Warriors were healthy, he would have never come back. And flip side, in the one finals, if LeBron had all his players, they probably would have won that one. I mean, it's just silliness. I mean, I probably could go find a bunch of that stuff too. That Tom Brady won his 7th title on the 7th day when something happened on number 12. And I mean, sure, there's probably all kinds of correlations that you can make if you look hard enough. But that has no bearing on whether something's rigged or not rigged. That's insanity. And here's the thing. Sorry, Ken. Sorry, I really am sorry. Here's the thing is, if it is, then why do people win all kinds of money betting sports? That doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's dogs that choose which bowl they put a team on each bowl, and the dog chooses 7 winners in a row. I mean, if you do them based on against the spread, just picking wins and losses doesn't mean anything. All kinds of people can do good, pick wins and losses. They can go over 50% every week against the spread. Yeah, I like that. I like that, Mr. Henry. I like the Bengals. I think the Bengals have a shot. If you can pick over 50% against the spread every week, then you should be betting. But just picking wins and losses, I mean, my kid could probably do that. So, I mean, that's not special. And you can give them out. I bet you there's weeks you lose. And just picking wins and losses, you should never lose, but you will, because you think it's based on something else. When really picking winners and losers, you can just look at the statistics and they'll get you there. But anyway, so does anyone have any questions on any of the games? Oh, then I mean, why? I don't have any idea why you're watching anything I put out. If you already know all the answers, what do you need me for, Mr. Alex? Why are you watching my stuff? If you're winning so much. But is there any games this week that anyone wants to talk about before I get off here? I'm done talking about any of the rigging or anything like that. I'm only going to talk about football from here on out. I haven't been watching any baseball, so again, I don't have any baseball information because I haven't even watched a single playoff game. Honestly, baseball doesn't intrigue me. So, but football, I love football. So again, does anyone have any questions about games this week? I'll talk about any game you want. I'll give you my opinion on it and if I'm going to be betting it. Oh, so It's not your own stuff. You rip other people off, is what you're saying. That's fine. I mean, everyone does. I rip off all kinds of other sports bettors. That's how I learned how to do it. Flip a coin, sure. I mean, you do just as good. But anyways, honestly, is there anyone that wants to talk about an actual football game this week? Any game you want. I'll talk about prop bets. There is something I do want to talk about is one of the reasons I think most sports bettors lose is parlays. You bet parlays, you're going to lose. Single bets is where it's at. Okay, Panthers game. This is going to be Panthers Giants. Okay, so again, guys, the Giants are just crushed with the injuries, just terrible injuries all year long, right? They started with all the injuries. Started with just all kinds of injuries, the offensive line, receivers, still the same thing. They lost their running back. I mean, Daniel Jones was lucky to play last week, and he shouldn't have. I mean, he had like 3 or 4 interceptions. It was just terrible. He got crushed. The Panthers are coming off 2 this like really ugly losses, right? They lost to Philadelphia. They were dominating and lost in the 4th quarter. And then the loss to Minnesota, they dropped like 9 passes in the game. And these passes were dead on. I mean, they're right in these players' hands for first downs. And the Panthers still got it to overtime. They still got it to overtime. They didn't get the coin tossed. Sure, I look at all that stuff, Mr. Whistle, all the buys and everything. But yeah, RJ Henry, the Panthers and the Giants, it's only -3, right? You got to go with the Panthers -3. And I know the Panthers have burned us 2 weeks in a row. But, I mean, they're the better football team even when the Giants are healthy. The Panthers' defense is legit. They are a solid, good defense. And as long as Darnold doesn't just lose the football game, the Panthers should win this easily. Sam Darnold can lose a football game for you. At -3, it's not I mean, you can give up 3 in this game, I feel, very safely. It's one of my favorite plays of the week, and I have money on it already because I think that -3 is going to go up. And I could be wrong on that, but I do think it's going to climb. I like the Panthers. If it starts climbing, I'll probably play Panthers money line parlays. But up until this point, if it's at 3, I'll just parlay the ATS. But I like the Panthers a lot in this one. And I think those receivers, after all those drop balls, I think they're not going to drop many balls this week. Man, they had a lot of drop balls. Honestly, guys, the Panthers drop balls alone cost them that football game. I mean, like 6 out of, I counted 9. They said there was only 6, but I counted 9 that I saw. And like out of the 6, there was like 5 of them for first downs. So Atlanta versus Miami. Okay, so this is a crazy one. Atlanta actually started out +1.5 on Monday. So when that spread came out on Monday, it was +1.5 Atlanta. By Tuesday morning, it was -2 Atlanta. Atlanta grades out about 6 points higher than Miami. And Atlanta's coming off a bye, so they're going to be healthier. They're going to get some of those receivers back they didn't have. And Pitts is coming on, the tight end, the rookie tight end. He had his best game of the year. Matt Ryan is trying to trust him. Miami is starting Tua. Anytime Miami is starting Tua, I'm fading them. I may have to fade him on the money line, but I'm fading him. I don't like Tua. Tua had his best game of his career last week in London, and they still lost. I just do not like Tua. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. Miami and Atlanta, there's going to be as many Atlanta fans there as Miami fans. It's in Miami. Guys, and Miami should get some of their receivers back, I think. They didn't, but still, I like Atlanta to cover the 2. I think it might be to 2.5 already. I actually bet it on a teaser at +1.5 when I saw it because I knew it would move. I didn't think it would move 3 points in one night, though. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute, Whistle. But I like Atlanta a lot, and I actually like Pitts to catch a touchdown in the game. I think that game really helped him. Yeah, Tua played last week. He had a great game. He's going to be the starter here on out, even though they should start Brissett. Brissett's a better player than him, but it's going to be Tua. And I mean, Tua to throw a pick is always a good play. He did last week. He's going to do it pretty much every week. But I like Atlanta in this one at -2 or -2.5. If he gets to 3 or 3.5, it's an Atlanta money line play for me. And it may get there, but I like Atlanta a lot. I'm all over Atlanta. It was one of the first bets I put in on a teaser because they were getting 1.5. So I got them up to 7.5. And I actually paired them. With the Titans. Yeah, he played well in London, and they still lost. All right, so Tennessee, Kansas City. So this is a weird one. When it came out, it was 4. The spread was 4. As far as I know, it's still right there, 3.5 or 4. Guys, Tennessee is getting points at home. Kansas City doesn't stop anything on defense. They don't stop the run. They don't stop the pass. They just don't stop anything. And so Kansas City essentially has to outscore everybody. And can they outscore Tennessee? Sure, they absolutely could. Tennessee's defense is not special by any means, and the secondary is all beat up. So, I mean, is Kansas City going to score points? Yeah, they are. They're going to score a lot of points. And in fact, the over and under is 56. I mean, they're expecting a ton of points in this game, and they're going to get them. The problem is Tennessee's at home. Tennessee has the best individual running game as a running back in the NFL. And he's going to have a huge game in this one as well, just because Kansas City doesn't stop anything. So I like Tennessee plus the points. I like Tennessee on the teaser mostly. I do think this is what's crazy, is I actually think this is going to be a 3-point game, and I think Kansas City is going to win. And the reason I think Kansas City is going to win is because the game means more to Kansas City than it does to Tennessee, because Kansas City's so far behind in the playoff race. So Tennessee's going to win their division most likely. Their only real competition is if the Colts go on a run, and they already got 1 win against the Colts. So if they get the second win against them, it'll be real hard for the Colts to overtake them. And they have plenty of games, the Jacksonville games, and they got those games still ahead of them, and the Houston games where they're going to dominate those teams. So there's some more wins there. I just think the game matters more to the Chiefs than it does to Tennessee. Tennessee's coming off the big win on Buffalo. Kansas City basically had a cakewalk against Washington in the second half. I just think I think the spread, I think it's going to stay close, and I think the spread is good for Tennessee. I actually think Kansas City is going to get the win, and it may be by 3 points, maybe at 1 point. I don't know, but I like Tennessee on the teaser mostly, and I like Kansas City on the money line, which is a weird play, but I just think it matters more to Kansas City. I think they're kind of in desperation mode. They know they can't lose games because the Raiders and the Chargers are going to keep winning football games. And I think Kansas City is going to have a hard time catching them. Now, they've still got games against them, which will help, but they're going to have to win them. And I think Kansas City knows they basically got to win 8 or 9 games in a row here. So I like Kansas City to win the game, and I like Tennessee on the teaser is the way I like the game. And I like Derrick Henry to have a huge game. And I actually like Mahomes to have a huge game. So if you're into those prop bets, I think Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns is a great prop. And I think I mean, who knows what Derrick Henry's yardage is going to be in this one, like 110 probably. And he'll probably go over it. But I mean, I'm sure it's going to be high. So that's those are the games. I like them. I like that a lot. Thank you, Brian. I like Cincinnati too. They're getting 6.5 points. That's a lot of points for a divisional matchup, especially they actually grade out pretty close. It's definitely within the 6.5. And Baltimore's coming off a pretty big win. By beating the Chargers and Buffalo losing, Baltimore's the number 1 seed right now, right? Baltimore's the top dog right now. They have 1 loss. They're sitting on top of the AFC. Big win for them. And I think Cincinnati's just hungry, They already beat one big brother when they went and knocked off Pittsburgh. This is the other big brother they got to beat up. I mean, I think Cincinnati plays up in this game, and I think that the game is going to mean more to Cincinnati than Baltimore. The one problem with Baltimore is they have Lamar Jackson, and he is kind of the ultimate negator, right? He okay, yeah. He's like the ultimate just kind of stopper, right? He just can do everything so well that, especially now that his accuracy is there. I know a lot of people don't think Lamar Jackson's accurate. Go look, he is super accurate, and he changed that in his game. And his running ability, plus now that he's an accurate thrower, and their team's faster at the receiver spot, and Mark Andrews is a beast. They replaced their running backs with veterans, good running backs. I mean, man, I just think it's a hard one, but I'm on Cincinnati plus the points because that's what my model tells me. But I think it'll be a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Baltimore's the luckiest team in the NFL. So Baltimore, they got lucky. They kind of got unlucky against the Raiders week 1, but then they got lucky against the Chiefs. Chiefs fumbled, going to kick a field goal. They got lucky against the Colts, kind of missed field goal. There's another game where they basically just got really lucky. And the Detroit game, the kicker kicked a 65-yard field goal. I mean, when Detroit was winning, I mean, they've had some really big breaks to be at 5-1. It's not a very clean 5-1. They definitely could be 2-3. I mean, it definitely could be there. So they're kind of the luckiest team in the league right now, where the Colts are kind of like the unluckiest team in the league almost, besides the Giants, because their injuries are just terrible. But with that said, I mean, Baltimore's pretty good overall. They still got Lamar, and anytime you got Lamar, you can win. It's kind of like having Brady or Mahomes or Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Anytime you got those guys, you can win a football game. So, but I like Cincinnati plus the points. Teasing them to 12.5. Honestly, I don't know how much that matters. I feel like if you feel like you need to tease them, then you should probably be on the Baltimore side. If you think you need to tease them to 12.5, that means you think Baltimore's going to win the football game. All right, I'll talk about them. I actually talked about them earlier, but you probably weren't here, so I'll talk about them again. But yeah, so I don't really like teasing Cincinnati up because it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're going to do that, you must think Baltimore's going to win. You might as well tease Baltimore down, right? No, you're okay. No, I'll tell you about it. No problem at all. So the Indy game, I like Indy plus the points because San Francisco is in a quarterback competition in the middle of the year. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They should stick with one guy. And I like Indy's team. I think they're best 2-win team in the NFL. Outside of some injuries in the secondary, they're a very solid football team. And they took the Rams to the limit. They took the Ravens to the limit. 2 one-loss teams that are some of the better teams in the NFL. Carson Wentz is playing better football than he's probably ever played. They have good young receivers, good young running backs, a pretty solid front seven on defense. They're a solid football team. Indianapolis, if they make the playoffs, they could give people problems. They're going to have to go on quite a little bit of a run, but just with what they field on their starting, when they field their players, I mean, they're solid. They're solid as anyone out there when they're healthy. But yeah, so I like Indy. I really like Indy on the teaser. Get Indy up to 9.5. I just don't think San Francisco can beat them like that. And I actually think Indianapolis is going to win the football game. They're going to go to San Francisco and they're going to get the win. That's where I'm at on that one. I really like Indianapolis's running back Taylor. I think he's very underrated. Just what he does. I mean, the guy is awesome. And I actually think Indianapolis wide receiver group is underrated. Quite a pretty underrated receiver group. So I like him. I like him a lot. Can San Francisco win the game? Sure, they're at home. They can win the game. Will they win by 3.5? Probably not. Will they win by 9.5? I'm going to say definitely not. So that's why I like Indy on the teaser mostly. But I am going to have an Indy money line bet because last I looked, it was 155 plus 155. I like that value. You're getting 1.5 to 1 on your money. And Indy actually grades out higher than San Francisco on my computer model. So I like them. But I do think it's going to be a close football game. Anything else before I go? I will answer any football question for this week that I can. Some of them I'm not going to know the answer. But anyways, if there's no more questions, and then for all the people that purchased my package, I'm actually going to send that out here just in a minute. That way we can get that out early. Because I actually had some people say they would like it out before Thursday, so the Thursday game is in there. So I'm going to try to accommodate that the best I can. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Whistle. I appreciate that. I really enjoy it too. Besides the rigging stuff, I didn't enjoy that. But yeah, talking about football, talking about sports betting, and how to get money, how to win money, guys. I've done really well this year. I was putting my bets up, every week and videoing it, but I actually got leery of it a little bit because I would hate for someone to get in my account, and so that's why I haven't done it again. I haven't really figured out a good way to put them up again, so that's why I haven't been doing that no more. A few guys that I trust said that are into the computer stuff said that people could use that to get in. They could figure it out. And so I got a little leery of it, so that's why I haven't been doing it. Not that I think any of you would do it, but who knows who else is watching, not everyone comments. So, I got a little leery of it is all I did. So I haven't been doing it. But guys, everything I put in my favorite picks, and obviously you guys don't all know about this because it's what goes to the people that purchase my package. Guys, I have bets on those games. You can guarantee it. And I also have bets on more than that, but those are always my favorites. So again, thank you guys for watching with me, and thank you for spending this time with me. And I love your insights. I love how you guys have this really good sports knowledge and sports betting knowledge. I love listening to you guys as well, or reading your comments. So many times I've got good plays from you guys. So I appreciate it a lot. Again, thank you for watching, and I am going to be having more crabs content. It has not stopped. I just have, we're almost getting ready to move. We're moving Sunday back to Arkansas, so that's going to be a big deal. But anyway, still won't stop any of my stuff. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all later.